is the Rangers Journal now.
Hello everyone and welcome to Ones to Watch. This is a show that we produce for Heart and Hand. We are from the Rangers Journal and we like to come over here and share our pod with you. You're certainly welcome to join us on our own YouTube channel. Just search the Rangers Journal, and we're also available on all the podcast apps as well if you like what you hear. So please come and give us a follow and give us a listen. Let me introduce our panel this evening. Regular to the show, Cammy, how are you, mate?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to talking about some fresh players. I think it's we've had plenty signings across the summer, and I think it's just very early on, but I think it's good to give our early thoughts on the players that we're going to talk about.
And also Ryan, I'm sure you've been on a few times as well, Ryan, haven't you?
Yeah, once or twice, mate. Yeah, looking forward to having a hopefully a positive conversation about Rangers. It's not been much to be positive about in the last few weeks, but it's great to maybe have something nice to talk about for a change.
We certainly want to be positive. I certainly don't want to be, down just for the sake of it, or not being influenced by our current kind of state of the team. We do have to think, we are through to the Champions League qualifying round, whatever it's called, the playoff round, is that what it's called? But we'll try and be positive about the players, but I do want us to be realistic as well with what we're talking about with them. Last but not least, we have Andrew, who is a member of the Rangers Journal, but also has the Ibrox channel. How are you, Andrew?
I'm not doing too bad. All the better for speaking to you, lovely gentlemen, this evening.
Thank you very much. Well, look, we've picked out a few players to talk about in this episode. Hopefully, we will have time to talk about all of them. And the first player that we're going to talk about is Findlay Curtis. Now, if I can come to you first, Andrew, just because where I see you, you're first in line. What do you say, or what would you say Findlay Curtis' biggest strength is at the moment?
Well, he did make a bit of a strong impression last season, didn't he? Getting into the first team, but I just think he's got some good technical skill. His work rate, we saw him in that Panathinaikos game, and that was absolutely fantastic to see. Obviously, he's got direct forward play, and it's something a little bit exciting to see from one of our academy kind of graduates that's finally kind of coming through to the first team. Obviously, came on against Manchester United, and himself and others that night did really show what they could do, especially when we managed to get an equaliser at Old Trafford. When you're bringing on players like Findlay Curtis, absolutely phenomenal. As I say, what I like about him, direct forward play. We don't have enough players that are like that currently. I know obviously that might be something more different tactically, but obviously we will probably get into that at some point. Sharp movement, I do like that. And he's got some composure that you would just see more from an older player. I don't know if that's because he's kind of come through the Rangers ranks since I think the age of 6, I think it was. So he's kind of come right through that system. So maybe he's just matured a little bit better than you would imagine. But it's good to see that Russell Martin sees something there as well and has played him in some big games. So, a very dynamic, potentially attacking player. Hopefully he can continue that for us.
Yep. Cammy, he obviously joined Rangers at a young age. He's risen through all the ranks at the youth levels. He's made his debut as a first-team player. That's exactly what we want in an academy, isn't it? So what do you think they've seen in him in all these years?
I mean, I think I've spoke about Findlay before. He's had to work really, really hard. I don't think it's been handed to him across his academy career at Rangers. I think there's been moments where he's only been on a short-term contract. It's not been this is the prospect that's going to be the next Barry Ferguson sort of situation. So I think he's got a good attitude. And I think that humility, he's not going to let this sort of breaking into the first team squad go to his head. The thing for me with Findlay Curtis is goals. Throughout his time for the youths and the academy, B team, all that sort of stuff, he was always the name that you were seeing that was scoring goals. And it was a time where there was a shortage of that. And that for me, now and moving forward, is the thing that excites me most about him, is that he knows where the back of goals. During pre-season, he's scored a lovely goal into the far corner. He's scored an Ali McCoy's type finish inside the box. that's for me. I think if he can keep scoring goals, we need goals from all areas. That's something that we've all spoke about before, and I think that is his energy, and he's no scared to have a pop at goal. But somebody breaking through into the squad has worked really, really hard, and I think there's an opportunity here for him. And I'd really just hope if we go into the season and he gets 10 to 15 games to try to consolidate his sort of breakthrough over the last 6 months.
Ryan, I'll come to you, and again, we're not trying to be negative, but have you seen any kind of flaws? Have you seen any areas where he really needs to improve to be a regular in the first team?
No, nothing really that's of concern. Everything's just going to take its natural course. He is still a very young man at 18. He's still, if you were to pick fault in his game and you had to find criticism, you talk about his strength and his physicality, and he's maybe sometimes getting about, falling out of games. I think we've seen him in Panathinaikos away. He was quite anonymous throughout that game. But you've got to remember, he's 18 years old. He's not going to be big and strong and aggressive. Older men, more physical men are going to try and exploit the fact that he is a young boy. So that's the only kind of thing you could possibly say about him. But with that, but that's understandable. At 18 years old, things will eventually take time to get better. You maybe look at, I don't want to say this is a ridiculous comparison, but you look at Ronaldo when he first broke through. He was slender, he was slight, he was getting, kicked about and stuff like that. He struggled to influence games. He went on to be one of the greatest football players of all time. So you've got to let the wee guy find his feet, let the natural course. And I'm not saying he's going to be the next CR7 and he's going to be a multi-millionaire at some point in the future, but I'm just trying to give you an example that's kind of live to that. I'm liking the way that we're handling him. The thing that he's obviously broken through quite early, but we haven't flung a contract in front of him straight away, which is what I like, which I think's actually left him hungry for more and left him hungry for there. I think we were a wee bit guilty of doing that in the past, where we look at Alex Lowry, where he got a contract early doors, when he started showing a bit of potential, lost appetite, question on his attitude, and look where he's ended up. He never ever made it. Leon King, possibly you could say that as well, got a decent contract at a young age, has never really made it, and never, you question if they lost their desire to make the breakthrough. Do they think they've made enough money? Have they got it? Ross McCausland, another one, who was given a decent contract after only a few games, never ever made the breakthrough. So keeping him young and hungry, and actually saying to him, yes, the contract will come, but you need to earn it. We're not just going to throw it at you after a couple of games and a couple of pre-season goals and a decent goal against Panathinaikos. You need to show more and you need to prove more. What we need to do, though, is we need to protect ourselves, and that we don't want another episode of Billy Gilmore where a top English club will come and pick our young talent away for next to nothing because we haven't been able to get a contract in front of them. So we need to try and find that balance where we want to keep good attitude, because sometimes throwing money at them too early does create a bad attitude. So we need to make sure that we're keeping them hungry, young and applicable. And ultimately, we'll see if he's going to be a good professional or not. And I don't think he would have got to the stage where he is now if he hadn't shown, the ability to be a good professional. He'd have been weeded out the club a long, long time ago, and he's probably seen guys that arguably probably were better players than him at a young age who just haven't made the grade just through showing bad attitude and behaviours and get out at the weekends and just getting himself, involved in the wrong things. So there's high hopes for him. I don't want to criticise him too much, but as I say, there's things that he needs to work on, but I'm confident, with the right coaching and the right application, it will happen.
Cammy, I'll swing back through you. We don't really know, we haven't seen what Russell Martin's style of play actually is at Rangers. I know there's lots of people tell me that it's going to come and it's just some pain before it breaks through. But where do you see him fitting into the supposed system that Russell Martin has? And do you think that he might actually find that he's, with the signing of Mikey Moore, for instance, he might find his chances to start or to play a lot of games are limited? And do you maybe think he should go out on loan?
It is a concern for me, I must admit. I think if he was to stay, I think off both wings, I think that's the situation. An opportunity may come for getting a wee bit light in the number 9 position, but he's a bit slight to play there for me. I think his opportunities are going to be most likely off the left and off the right wing, where Gassama and Ant-Man are playing at this present time. It's very interesting what conversations are happening, because if you look, Moore and Gassama are effectively going to be your coverage on the left-hand side. Ant-Man and a £4 million investment in Cortez should essentially be your coverage on the right-hand side. So is it beneficial? We've just signed an agreement with Wraith Rovers and Stirling Albion. I'm certainly not advocating that he goes to Stirling Albion, but would it be more beneficial to Findlay Curtis to actually go out and play 35 to 40 games this season? You know, I really don't know. I'm interested to what Russell Martin's thoughts are with regard to that, because ultimately the only way kids between 18, this is why kids between 18 and 21 disappear, because they don't play enough competitive football. Rangers might think having them in the building and giving them opportunities, but I think that there is a question mark bringing in Mikey Moore, essentially a hot prospect at Spurs. We're going to help Spurs. We're helping the development of a Spurs player, but potentially hindering the development of a Rangers player. So it's a fine balance about improving the squad, but also having that proper. We talk about the pathway. So Findlay Curtis, for me, I personally think a loan would make more sense, but it's based on getting minutes. And I don't think he's going to go out to Wraith Rovers with a guarantee, but I think his ability should be enough to enable him to go out and get sufficient games at a team that's going to be trying to push for the playoffs and push to get promoted, and that sort of winning, and try to instill that winning environment. So for me, I would be putting him out on loan, because I just think his opportunities are going to be limited because of the players that I've mentioned.
Andrew, I'll come to you on a final word, because we do have 5 players to cover, so we better kind of move along. Do you see him being involved a lot this season, or are you like Cammy there, thinking he might benefit from a loan more than staying on, being a bench warmer or being in the stands?
Oh, yeah, I think I have to agree with Cammy. I think it's more beneficial to himself and to the club to kind of keep the football coming in. He needs to be somewhere, I think, playing regularly. We might stunt his development a little bit. He's at that perfect age now where you are going to be learning your graft, your football traits, everything. You need to be playing regularly. I think with having players like Mikey Moore's not coming up here just to play the odd game here and there. He's definitely there must be, I'd imagine, in that contract a set amount of games he might have to play as part of the deal. So yeah, no, I think it'd be beneficial for all parties. A good example, I think, at the minute, looking back, a development player, Alan McGregor, he wasn't getting a sniff at Rangers, went to Dunfermline and really showed what he could do there, and then became a top player for us. And I think that is kind of the pathway that I think some players do have to go down, especially the size of our squads. You look at all the players there as well, and it would be beneficial. He needs to be playing every week. So yeah, no, I agree with Cammy there 100%.
Well, we'll need to move on. The next player we're going to look at, and I need to be careful, Joe Rothwell. Ryan, I keep calling him Ben Rothwell, who I believe is a mixed martial arts fighter who I've seen on UFC at some point. But Joe Rothwell. So Joe Rothwell joins us from down south. Obviously had a good season last season with Leeds, and by all accounts, he's the kind of manager's kind of chosen one, isn't he? Obviously Raskin did start the other night there, but to be honest, Rothwell's been in that kind of sixth position, which is not where I expected him to be. What benefits or what are the attributes that Joe Rothwell brings to us here?
Sorry, forgive me, I was muted there. Experience right off the cuff. You're looking at, he doesn't fit this player trading model that we've harped on about for so many years. So he's 30 years old. He's not going to have a sell-on value. So he's been brought to the club purely as an older head to offer experience. And he's a good workhorse as well. He's got a good kind of attribute as far as he's obviously over 6 foot tall. That seems to have a good injury record as well. He doesn't seem to have been injured very often in the past either. I'm not too sure if I would call him a Russell Martin sign. I don't know if you've seen his interview when he first signed, that he became aware of Rangers' interest weeks before Martin was actually announced as the Rangers manager. So
I've missed that, Cammy, sorry. Cammy, Brian.
I don't know. Listen, I don't know if it was, you could possibly look towards it as a Thelwell signing rather than a Martin signing. But he's been brought to the building for his experience. I think it's probably something that we did lack in the midfield. All of our midfielders, when you look at Diamande, Raskin, Cameron, they're all much younger guys, and I'm always a fan of having somebody like a kind of Davis, a Lindstrom in there who are over the 30, who have ran the course, who will be able to kind of coach guys through. I don't think we're going to see him as far as like stats are concerned at the end of the season. I don't think you're going to see him with piles of assists or piles of goals. But if you look at things like yardage and stuff like that, maybe you would find things there. We'll just wait and see. It's another body in the building that we desperately needed. We'll see what comes of it. He lost his place the other night to Raskin. He did get dropped. So, it's good to see that he's not invincible, though you might think he's maybe a manager signing, he's not invincible to actually getting dropped.
No, fair dues. I didn't know. I didn't maybe hear that in the interview.
Well,
but Cammy,
maybe I was lucky to hear it.
Oh, no worries. Cammy, he was dropped the other night there for Raskin. I think the fans were wondering why Rothwell's playing there over Raskin, who, has cemented that place in the Belgian team. Why were you not playing Raskin in that position? And Raskin did seem to be quite ineffective a wee bit further forward. But I actually thought he was playing okay in the first couple of games, the first few games anyway in that six. This is Rothwell I'm talking about. And I feel the clamour to get Raskin in was just based on old performances. What do you think of that?
I quite agree. I think Nico is one of the fans' favourites, and we are obviously here to talk about Joe Rothwell. So I think that past performances do cloud people's judgments rather than what is actually happening in the present. I don't think Joe Rothwell, I thought he was coming as a number 8, a sort of box-to-box midfield player that could get about the pitch. Almost a la John Lundstrom many years ago when John Lundstrom came from Sheffield United, and I was expecting similar based on what I'd seen on Joe Rothwell. So the fact that he's been playing as the 6, I think he can play as a 6 or an 8. I think Nico can play as a 6 or an 8, but I don't think he's what we would term a specialist playmaker, number 6 that's going to dominate. But he does look comfortable in possession. I think when he's been pressed, I think he's looked very comfortable. Set piece delivery is probably, certainly from corners, it's something that I have noticed has been, I think he had the assist for Tav at Motherwell in the first day of the season. He has whipped in a few really, really good set pieces, which I think tells you about the start to the season for Rangers creatively, that we're actually looking at some of these set pieces as a positive. But I think there's more to come from Joe Rothwell. I'm interested to see how the manager plays this one, because Nico's essentially grabbed the jersey back off him. I don't think Rothwell was particularly good against Dundee, and that's the sort of game that's the Achilles heel games for Rangers for me. And I think you're expecting him to be taking the ball off the two centre halves so that he's the one with the possession stats that are through the roof, no the two centre halves that are behind him. So I don't know if that's a manager instruction, or if the personality of Joe Rothwell is to John Souttar and Djeidi, give me the ball, I'm going to dominate the possession. And that's, I don't know enough about him. There's not been enough games to properly judge, but he's came with a good reputation, came with a solid pedigree. And I think we'll just have to see what the next few weeks ahead. But I think him and Nico can play together. It's just about finding the right balance and putting players into the positions that they feel most comfortable.
Andrew, basing on what you know of the Russell Martin system, were you surprised he's playing in the 6 role more than the 8? Because I'll be honest with you, I thought he was, as Cammy was saying, a more box-to-box player. Do you think he suits the system? Because I've got to say, the first couple of games, the game against Dundee, I really didn't think he suited it there, because he just was, as Cammy was saying, taking the ball off the centre halves, and it wasn't really any probing passes getting forward or any balls over the top. Whereas if he was maybe a bit further forward himself, he's more attacking minded. How do you think that kind of lays into Russell Martin's system?
Yeah, I totally agree. Russell Martin's system, he's been okay. I think he is better as a box-to-box player. We've seen that from him when he was at Southampton, Leeds. He's better at driving. He's got some great dribbling ability. His passing's pretty decent as well. Like Cammy said, the passing stats, he should be the one with the higher kind of passing stats. But I just think part of this system at the minute, we do look to move the ball around a little bit, just too much, and I just don't think it suits him too well. Don't get me wrong, he has looked okay. He's not looked amazing in some games. He has been taken off, I think, around the 60 minutes in some of them, because he's, I think he might be a little bit tired at the minute, just based on kind of the way he has looked before he's come off. I don't think it suits him. I think that there is a bigger problem with the whole squad at the minute in regards to this system and kind of getting used to it. But we are not using players to our strengths at the minute. And Joe Rothwell's strengths are box to box. He's a good dribbler. He's a good passer. He can carry the ball out from deep. Let him do it. That's what I want to see him do it, because that's what he was good at with Leeds.
Ryan, with his signing, to be honest with you, unfairly probably, but I had very kind of flashbacks to Joey Barton, who'd come off having a really good season the season before and came up here thinking that he strove this league, only to be kind of sent back packing after a few months. Now, I'm not suggesting that Rothwell's like that, but did you have any worries with him coming up that he wouldn't settle in here? And do you think he has settled in? Has he started well for you?
I didn't really have any worries. The championship level is obviously similar in class to the level that we play at. If not, some of the teams are probably, arguably League 1, League 2 level. So I didn't have any kind of question if he was a good pro and a flexible pro there. The only kind of real reason, to be honest with you, Joey Barton's attitude kind of cost him his Rangers career more than anything else. He came up here with a big time Charlie, but anyway, we could talk about Rothwell. No, I didn't really have any concerns. I trust in the system that they were obviously scouting the guy. He was known to the system, if you like, with the link up with the 49ers. He was a known player, so if there was any concerns about attitude, behaviours, not being a good professional, they'd been identified the season before it Leeds, and he wouldn't have been invited to Ibrox to come and sign for us. So, for me, if you're part of a championship winning team with Leeds, you're more than welcome to come to Ibrox and employ your trade. So I didn't have any real concerns at all. It's maybe arguably just a wee bit faster up here than it is in the championship. You don't seem to get a lot of time in the ball, particularly if you play for one side of the Glasgow divide. So, but he seems to have handled it well. We're just looking for a wee bit more from him, but as Cammy said, still early doors.
Cammy, we'll move on to Max Aarons, who is first loan player, I guess we're going to discuss, on loan from Bournemouth. I've got to say, he was played out of position, obviously, early on, especially in the European games, playing at left back. Clearly, there was something up with Djeidi, the manager, not fancying them there. It seems to have been rectified. What I'm seeing, though, on the comments, social media, is that he's not an improvement on Tav. But is it too early to be saying that?
Yeah, I think as a support, the opinions can be made positively or negatively very, very quickly. I think it was unfair for him to be put into the position on the left-hand side. Certainly looked very, very uncomfortable. There's not many players can do that. I go back as one of the older gentlemen, that Dennis Irwin, and back at Man United all those years ago, could play right back and left back, and you didn't know the difference. He just looked excellent. But I think I like a balance. A left-footed left back, a left-footed centre half. He had a decent game against Pilsen, I thought, last midweek. In the home game, played a fantastic ball for the third goal, I think it was, for Oliver Antman. Brilliant ball inside the fullback. Great, positive. He then followed it up with I thought a very cautious performance against Dundee. I thought it was very safe. I was looking for him to be more, and I think this is where the James Tavernier comparison, Tav would have been at his peak, going on the outside or backing up Antman, and that was something that I expected Max Aarons to bring in, and we've not seen it yet. But this is a guy that's came with a decent reputation, but also don't think he's played a lot of football in the last couple of years. He's been on loan, and I think you can see that this is a guy that's maybe not played 5 or 6 games on the bounce, and it's maybe going to take 10 to 15 games, but you only get 10 to 15 minutes at Rangers to settle in, no 10 to 15 games, and I think his sort of back catalogue and his potential is there, but so far he's not really shown it, apart from, I thought, a steady performance against Pilsen where he gave more of what I was expecting, balls inside the full-back and a bit more energetic up and down that right-hand side. But again, it's very much like Joe Rothwell. This is a guy that the manager and Kevin Thelwell have obviously earmarked to come in. These guys are going to be, will have paid a hefty loan fee and will be making a hefty contribution to the wages. These guys aren't coming up to sit on the bench, so I would expect him to be the first choice right back. But I really think he needs to do more to help whoever's playing in front of him and get more bodies forward and help us create more chances, because I think so far, bar a positive 60 against Pilsen, I think he's been quite safe without and I think that's a problem of where Rangers are. We're too passive and too cautious in the opposition half, and I think he's certainly one of them.
Ryan, he's been signed obviously to play in this system. What do you think he brings to the Russell Martin formation?
I think he's quite sure. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy that loses the ball very often. He's not one of these ones that I think he's had any kind of calamity moments. Can't say that for everybody. But I don't seem to remember any kind of glaring errors where I put my hands on my head or I've shouted into myself, FFS or anything like that. So he seems there. He also seems to be a quite clever where if he realises something's not on, he seems to be quite able to draw a foul as well. He turns his back on the guy. He's able to kind of stand himself up and he draws the foul when he's in trouble rather than making a silly pass or try to get somebody else into trouble. He's quite clever in the fact that he's astute enough to bring the foul in from the opposition and without even just getting tackled and stuff like that. So I think he does okay with that. I do agree with what Cammy said. I think he feels smothered in this game in the formation, the system we're playing. I would like to see him get up and support the wingers, especially if you are playing a number 6, because if you've got Rothwell sitting there as the linchpin in the midfield, if one of the fullbacks go, it's very simple for Rothwell just to go across and then just shuffle the defence and basically protect the goalkeeper again. We used to see it with Ryan Jack. He had loads of success with him in Tavernier. He used to go flying at the wing. You just see Jack would just slot into right back and it was seamless. And there wasn't any pressure for Tavernier to go sprinting back because Jack was there covering him up. And Rothwell could do that for Aaron. So I don't really understand why we are being so cautious. The boys clearly get talent. He's done a job for us to start with as well, which shows his versatility and shows his willingness to do things. I don't agree with some of the comments that's been made that he's not good enough in there, because the guy's doing a job for us. He's been asked to cover a position because we didn't feel as if we had a good enough left back in the building. We've got a Turkish guy who's been made well known. He's not welcome at the club anymore. He's basically to get his agent to move him on as soon as possible. We don't seem to have a lot of belief in Robbie Fraser for whatever reason. And Djeidi, by all accounts, looks as if he's on his way out by the weekend. So we might see him having to go back over there again and playing Tavernier. So we need to understand that he is helping us in that respect, because it's not his natural position. We're lucky that he actually can play the two sides, because otherwise you're looking at a struggle with it. So as far as the system is concerned, I think he's good enough there, but I do think there's more for him. I think there's more. I think he is a better player than what he's been let to show.
Andrew, I do tend to agree with Ryan there that we've probably got more to see from him. What do you expect his role to be? Do you think he will start more games than Tavernier this season? I'll be looking to phase Tav out.
It's a difficult one to say, really. At the minute, he's not exactly set the heather alight. Like Ryan says, he's a kind of, I guess he's a safe option. We've not seen too much of him in the kind of attacking area of the pitch. Norwich, he had 200 appearances there. He was absolutely fantastic there. At Bournemouth, he had a bit of an injury, a few injuries at his time there. But I think what alerted us to him was the fact his defensive stats, they were very strong, which is something that I think with James Tavernier were a little bit lacking. Obviously, a lot of modern fullbacks now. You look at Trent, Alexander Arnold at Liverpool a couple of seasons ago. He was a fantastic, great with assisting and stuff, but defensive qualities, the fans weren't too happy. Very good at winning possession in the final third. That's something he did quite well at Bournemouth. So I don't know if that's kind of part of what we were kind of looking at, but again, this system, obviously, we've been told it's not quite there yet by, fans, especially a lot of fans down south that saw Russell Martin's system. It does take a bit of time. So I don't know if maybe at the minute it's a case of maybe not everyone's on the same page with what's to be done. But as it stands, yeah, he was doing a job out on the left that he wasn't quite comfortable with, but he has played there before. Something that Martin likes in players is players that can play on opposing wings. So you never know, we could see him there on the left maybe later on in the season as well, because it is something that Martin does. But yeah, it's a bit of an unknown at the minute.
Cammy, last word on Max Aarons. What do you think he needs to do to hold that, right back position jersey to, for himself and keep Tav out the team? What do we need to see from him this season?
Well, I think Andrew touched on his defensive, just be solid defensively, but support the guy that's in front of you. Just play maybe 15, 20 yards further forward. I think that's a wider conversation, and I think with regard to Rangers as a whole, I think some players could just play a wee bit further forward, and I think he's certainly on the basis. I'm only going to judge him as a right back because I don't think it's fair to properly judge him playing out of position. For him to be a success at Rangers, it's going to be as a right back, and I expect across the season, what we're going to play, maybe about 60 games. I think he'll probably start 40 to 45 games as the first choice right back. And I think it is part of, as much as he's not going to be a Rangers player longer term beyond this season, I think it is part of the phasing out of the captain. And I expect him to improve as the season goes on, but I want him and Oliver Antman to get closer together and build a relationship. And if they can do that, then I think we'll create more chances, and it'll give us a good threat on that right hand side.
Ryan, we'll talk about a fourth player, Gassama, as I'm led to believe you're meant to pronounce it. Obviously, we've kind of named him the Gas Man. Funny nickname, I guess. Something to do with Still Game, something like that. Signed from Sheffield Wednesday, they obviously had a lot of problems, money problems, and I think we probably got them a lot cheaper than we really should have. Certainly on their fan forums, they were, I guess, complaining is the right word, but they weren't giving us a hard time for getting him at that price. I think they were maligning their ownership, but we got him at a good price, and he really did hit the ground running, scoring against Panathinaikos, scored a couple of other goals as well. What do you see in him? What do you think he's came to the club for?
I think he's going to be fantastic for us based on the early signs that we've seen. He's a right goal threat. He's scored for us after 3 or 4 minutes of being on the park, and it's an absolute rocket launcher. And it's helped us so much in the Panathinaikos tie, which has led to the Blitzen tie, Bruges. So you could actually, touch wood, if we make Champions League qualification, you could actually probably bring it back to that moment. The second goal at Ibrox against Panathinaikos has probably been one of the most important moments in the journey of getting there, if we do it, hopefully. The wee man's a goal threat, and you've seen even in Athens again, another goal. He's won us a penalty in the last minute against Dundee, which has got us out of jail leave, saved with, as much as it was still not a great result, it's probably, it's saved us from a disastrous result. The wee man's got it all. He's got the world at his feet. Hopefully he stays injury free, but there's not much he can't do. Maybe just needs to work a wee bit on his left side, and just maybe need to start takeouts, because people soon start to realise that he likes to come inside and take a wee shot with the right foot. So he maybe just needs to develop that side of his game that he wants to start hitting the byline a wee bit more. He might want to swap with Ant-Man on occasion as well. That's a tactical thing for Martin to consider as well. But the wee man's got it all, even scoring with headers as well, which he scored, against Blitzen, which at the height he is, you're not expecting that from him. So long may it continue. I think he's going to be a great signing for us.
Andrew, he's 21. Will be 22 soon, I believe, 10th of September. And he really probably, well, in my opinion, he's probably one of these players that will want to try and get a year or two of and then flip for, that fabled trading model that we never seem to do too well on. Do you agree with that? Do you think that's the plan for the club, to buy him at the price we got him at and then flip him in a few years, hopefully, high double-figure millions?
Definitely. One, it's unfortunately, it's been quite sad for Sheffield Wednesday fans, what they're going through at the minute. We've obviously had our own issues. We got them at an extreme cut price. I think some of the figures that were quoted by some fans, I don't know if they're kind of inflated, but around 10 million. But it probably would have been a realistic price tag for him. Absolutely love him. If you want to make a fan base love you, score the second you're on the park on your debut, and he did that. And he scored some fantastic goals in some really important games. Like Ryan said there, one is that penalty against Dundee. All right, not a great result. And he's again a versatile, direct player. I like the fact that we do seem to be signing some direct players, even though we don't seem to be using them as direct as possible at the minute. But I think definitely a couple of seasons, he's been on the books at PSG, kind of came through there and was highly rated there. There's definitely, at his age at the minute, 21, the sky's the limit currently, and I just hope we can nurture him over the next couple of seasons into a player that wins trophies and can kind of leave on a high and have a little bit of a legendary status at the club, and hopefully make us some good money as well under the player trading model.
Cammy, where do you think tactically he fits into Russell Martin type system?
I think he's got the option that he can play on both sides. Certainly looks more comfortable coming in off that left-hand side. Slight concern that he is very one-trick pony coming in on his right foot, and I think not comparing to Rabbi Matondo, that sort of situation. I just think you need to find a wee bit of variety to his game. But he's had some big moments so far. I think he has the capability to play on both sides, but I would expect the majority of his contributions to be off the left-hand side, trying to link with the number 9. I think the goal where Dessers played the 1-2 with him, lovely finish. That sort of goal, I think we should see. We should see a lot. I'd love to see that sort of goal from both sides, but he's had a good start. We're recording this obviously mid-month, and we've got the playoff round to come, and he is the type of player. I talk about game changers and match winners. He's the type of guy that could be the difference, that could see you through against Club Brugge. And I sincerely hope, and I think that would be a fantastic first month as a Rangers player if he could score another 2 or 3 goals by the end of the month and get us into the riches of the Champions League. And I think he's a player with plenty of potential and growth. And I echo what Andrew said. Want him to be part of a winning Rangers team, because I think you can sell players easier for top dollar if they've proven that they're winners. I don't think it's quite as easy if you're second and third prizes all the time. So hopefully he makes a contribution to Rangers being a winning team, and then it wins for him. He gets a move to a top 5 league, and we win because we get the enjoyment and the trophies from him, but also the fee.
Ryan, bearing in mind that we've not seen a lot of him, unless you've been watching English football last season, what in-game situations or opponents do you think will bring out the best in him? Where are we going to see the best of Gassama?
On the break. We see the goal against Panathinaikos, and the goal against Blitzen. It's on the break, and it's exploiting his pace and using his pace. Touching on like some Matondo and stuff like that, the way they should be using their pace. Gassama knows how to do it. Just a couple of wee bits of disappointment against Blitzen. I thought we had quite a few 3-on-3, 2-on-3 situations where I thought we could have done a lot better. He's party to that. So maybe final decision making in the last third needs to be something that works on. But you've got to appreciate that he's probably not going to play with the same number 9 for the rest of the season. I think we'll probably look to go out and recruit one pretty soon. So you might find that somebody with a wee bit more quality will come in and sit beside him. But as far as using them, I think that's where it's got to be. Moving the ball quickly and getting the ball and isolating right backs, isolating centre halves and getting them one-on-one against guys, and he'll just cause damage all the way. Just the goals that he'll score for us, and especially when teams are trying to come up and try to chase us, because eventually teams will come out and play against us if we do manage to go up. And we just leave the wee man out the park one-on-one, and we just hopefully score goals for us.
Andrew, I'm kind of worried that obviously we've only 2 league games in the season so far. Very different games. Motherwell actually brought the game to us. Dundee very much sat 30 yards from the goal line. I didn't see a lot of penetration from him. Of course, he wins the penalty at the end of the Dundee game, but the Dundee game is the one that kind of worries me the most, that there wasn't really much else going on. Do you think he is the right type of player that will be able to break down this low block that we keep hearing about?
I think it might just be a little bit of a slight culture shock for some of the players playing up against the likes of Dundee and Motherwell. Now, don't get me wrong, Dundee and Motherwell didn't have the full, dreaded low block that we talk about. Motherwell certainly didn't, and Dundee kind of half did. I think out of possession, they had a few men back, but they were looking to get at us as well, because we are a kind of team that I think people know can be got at the minute, because it's a kind of new work in progress. I think this will come from the training ground. I think that, the type of direct player he is, the fact now we've also got 2 wingers. The last probably winger on the left we had was probably Ryan Kent, that could actually cause some damage, and we haven't really had somebody nailed on since then. Now the fact that we've got Antman on the right, and other players as well, we'll be able to start stretching some teams. Players won't be able to double up on other players. That was always the big problem. We always had, for example, Czerny, great. We got a fantastic player, not somebody nailed on to the left, so it'll be doubled up on. I think we'll see less of that this season. There won't be as many players doubled up on, and hopefully we can create that space. And hopefully he has the leash off a little bit. You can see from the players we spoke about tonight, there's a lot of them that can be very direct, but currently aren't really playing direct. Antman with the ball, we've seen it with them one-on-ones, how he can cut in and just get a shot away. He needs to do it, and that's what he needs to do, be able to cut in more. And I think we'll see him swapping on wings as well. That seems to be something that Martin does favour, players that can play either side, like Cammy mentioned earlier. It could be a little bit of what I think Neil McCann called it once, organised chaos, when Gerrard used to do it and swap the wingers over. So I think there will be opportunities for him, and I think they'll find the right balance. But it needs to come soon. And it really does. Obviously, he's hit the ground running with his goals, but he needs to add more now.
Cammy, we'll move on to our final player we're going to look at, and that's Lyall Cameron. Now, I've seen him in the flesh a few times for Rangers so far this season, but I also managed to see him when he played for Dundee against us a few years back, and he was the best player on the park for me that day. So I was surprised we hadn't made a move for him earlier. Maybe it's just be his contract situation, and we waited for it to get him on, on the free that we got him on. I know he didn't start the earlier kind of friendly games. He's only really been in the team the last couple of games, but I felt that he's really stood out for me, and he is going to be we don't have a lot of Scottish players that come through and be successful at Rangers anymore, but I actually think he might be. I thought this last season with Connor Barnes, I could be wrong, but I think he might be a player that we have in the side and is very useful for us for a few seasons. So what's your just general opinion on him at the moment?
I think he had a difficult start in pre-season. I think he spoke about it himself, the intensity and the type of training that he'd picked up a wee niggle, which I think obviously impacted him during pre-season, but he's grabbed his opportunity and has done really, really well. I think he's a player that offers a different quality to what we have in the middle of the park. He's got a different skill set. I think the goal that he scored in Pilsen, that's the type of that's something that's lacking from the middle of the park. Not going to make any comparison to Scott Arfield, but Scott Arfield was the last midfield player that we had that was capable of getting in. He's just gambled and got into a position, and a mishit shot, he's then stuck it in the back of the net. So I think he's done pretty well so far. I think there's a lot more to come. He's doing what you would hope. I don't think anybody expects him even now to be in the starting 11 when everybody is fit and available. But he's making himself undroppable because his performances have been solid, and that's all you can do is grab the shirt when it comes to you. I think, and that's exactly what Lyall Cameron has done. He does look smaller than he than he actually did when he played for Dundee. He must be something that we must feed them something, that he certainly just looks physically a lot smaller than he was for Dundee. But it's what you do it's where you move and where you pass and that sort of thing. And I think that's the thing for me. He's energetic. He gets about the pitch. He's no playing safe passes. He's trying to play a pass to the left back, then he's trying to go in behind and making different runs. And I think it was very clear Russell Martin spoke about him following instruction perfectly. He followed, and I think that was obviously a dig at other players that hadn't been following the role that Russell Martin wants him to play. So that tells me he's a good kid. He's going to listen to instruction, takes instruction on. He's just wanting to be a success at Rangers and grab the opportunity. And I would think, along with probably Gassama, I think they've been the positives of the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season. And hopefully there's more to come from Lyall Cameron.
Ryan, yeah, what do you hope for the season for him? What would constitute a success in his debut season with us?
Let's get to double figures for goals for a start. Let's go out there and emulate what he did for Dundee. I think he got up to maybe about 15 or 16 goals for Dundee last season, if I'm correct in saying that. So let's replicate that, because we missed that. We've not really had, you maybe include Tierney being a goal scoring midfielder, but we haven't had somebody really coming directly from the middle of the park, since, as Cammy was saying, at the time of Arfield. And I think it's been a criticism of centre midfielders for Rangers that they're not getting themselves into the box often enough. We hopes that Tall Lawrence was going to do that. We'd hopes that Diamandi was going to do that, and it's not to fruition at all. So basically, just carry on doing what you were doing at Dundee. There's a reason why we signed you. And probably in his head, he's probably got to work twice as hard, because he was signed in January when Clement was still the manager. So he's by no means, a sexy signing. He's not came from, a faraway land with a big figure price tag on him. So in his head, he's got to be thinking, I'm maybe not fancied here, so I'm going to apply myself. And he's taking his chance absolutely perfectly. And it's a testament to show, the likes of Josh Gentles, Findlay Curtis, Sander Hutton, all the kind of younger guys in and about the squad. See if you come in and you perform and you follow the manager's instructions and you produce the goods and you produce the numbers, you'll be still in the team next week. So there is a pathway if you prove yourself and you come in and you apply and you bring the results. And over the moon with his first goal. And I think it could be something that you'll maybe just start seeing the floodgates open, that once he gets his first goal, it will build confidence. He'll maybe start thinking about shooting from outside the box and stuff, which it was one of the great things that he did for Dundee. Let's just see where it goes for him. But I think getting into double figure for goals, if you're asking what looks like success, yes. Let's get a couple of medals in his pocket at the end of the season as well. That represents success as well. Let's just see where he goes with it.
Well, speaking of sexy signings, Andrew, what do you think he has to work on to stay in the team this season? I mean, he's goal scoring at Dundee. Ryan's touched on it. I noticed the other night there in the European game, he was making a lot of runs, but nobody was finding him. So that must be frustrating for him as well. But what kind of weaknesses has he got that he's going to have to work on?
I would say that might be a slight weakness, but it's more that just because he can develop further with it. I think might be a little bit of intelligent positioning, because he's quite good at that. He was good at that at Dundee, but I just think this is a bit of a step up now, especially in Europe. So I think that, intelligence off the ball. He's a very capable player, high energy player as well, which is something you need. He would suit a very aggressive pressing style, I think. I would say it's the intelligence side of it. I think it's just getting used to playing in Europe, especially if we do make the Champions League. And of course, next week in the playoff, it's going to be, all the Champions League branded. It's going to feel like a proper Champions League match. Hopefully he can play in that and be involved. But I think it's that side of his game, because I think he's a very technical footballer. I would say it's because he can win the ball back as well. He's very good at winning the ball. Yeah, I would say it's the kind of the intelligent side of it, and I think that's just where he can grow. He's not terrible at it now, but it's just that step up to a club like Rangers and the demands of European football. I think he'll need to just learn a little bit more there.
Okay, guys. Well, we've been going for 50 minutes now, so we'll wrap this episode up. I want to thank my co-panel, Cammy. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Yourself as well, Ryan. Thank you very much, mate.
Oh, thanks for having me. A pleasure as always.
Good stuff. And Andrew, how do you feel your first episode Got Out in Heart and Hand went?
Oh, it was just, I always love talking about Rangers, and yeah, I think it's went well. So I haven't put my foot through it just yet.
Yeah, again, well, thank you for coming on, all of yous. Yeah, again, I'll reiterate, we are over on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at the Rangers Journal. And again, if you listen to podcasts, because obviously Heart and Hand is very much an audio podcast, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, all the usual, Amazon, all the usual platforms for that. But yeah, we do nightly shows on YouTube, all different various times. So if you can't always make one, you can maybe get one that suits you the next night. And yeah, thank you everyone for watching and listening. And remember that every night is a Rangers Journal night.